guys. It put us in a bad light, and it's just a pathetic. Those two guys that run that thing is pretty pathetic to me.
So I was sitting there one night watching one of the episodes. This is depressing. And Brock looked at me and went, Dad, look at the name of the show.
Because I had seen some things that weren't the most flattering, I guess I should say, of some of my friends, and the tone. I just didn't ever want my career to be looked upon as a dark side of anything.
Hey, and it's a timely question from Darren Stanley. Dustin Rhodes, who killed WCW? Have you been following that show at all?
No, I'll say this right now. I hate Vice TV.
Okay.
I hate the dark side of the ring. I will not watch any of those shows because I don't like what they do to the boys. They talk shit about the boys to make us look like assholes or whatever, right? Just for $1. And it really pisses me off. But the new one, Who Killed WCW, I have not watched.
Okay.
And Rock is involved in that. My opinion of Who Killed WCW is AOL.
Jason Hunter, we have a few more questions here, and then we'll wrap it up. If Arn made one episode of Dark Side of the Ring, what would the story be about?
Well, I was on one of those. I've already done one, right?
Yes, you have. Yeah.
I don't know. Those things are so dark. Those episodes are so dark, and which I know that's what the audience is craving. Yeah. I mean, it's in the name. I was sitting there one night watching one of the episodes, and I watched them all, and I went,
"It's compelling.
This is depressing." And Brock looked at me and went, "Dad, look at the name of the show."
Right.
They're telling you up front.
Yeah.
What you're suddenly some revelation.
Yeah. But it is something that we're all drawn to want to hear that type. It's something how the human nature works.
I will just say this about that. It's like, and it could be very true, and it could be an exaggeration, and none of it could be true. But there's always a couple of episodes of guys getting their eyeballs pulled out and eating their eyeballs and shit. I never heard any of that when I was in the business.
But man, it makes for great TV, buddy.
Well, it's compelling. The first time you hear it, you go, wait a minute, he pulled a guy's eye out and ate his eyeball? That was a little strong. The first time I heard it, I was mortified.
I can't remember whose up was that Abdullah's episode? I can't remember whose episode that was.
No, I want to, if I'm not mistaken, I want to say one of them was like Jerry Jarrett's company.
Oh, he might have been telling a story about one of his guys. Yeah.
I think has a story like that.
Yeah.
And it's like the first time you hear it, I was like this. I was like, Jesus, I never heard that. And then you hear it again and you go, wait a minute. There was more than one episode of this.
Right.
But they swear by it. I'm not saying it didn't happen, but if it did, that was probably 2 times too much. What you think?
Yeah, I think so too. I think you need to go with a different storyline. Use a different gimmick.
That puts a whole new twist on aggravated assault, I think.
Oh, without a doubt. Well, Jason, I'm not too sure what he would pick, but there seems to be a lot to choose from, and Arn's sucked into the series, so we'll see what else they can come up with. Arn, would you participate in another Dark Side of the Ring if they asked you to contribute?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
Sure,
depending on the topic, right?
Yeah, like I said, I've said a few times, and I mean it. I do not want to ever be sitting in front of a camera and knocking the business in any way, and burying anybody anyway, because this business has given me everything that my family and I have. I owe this business everything. It doesn't owe me anything.
There you go.
Had you seen any of what Dark Side of the Ring had done prior to them reaching out to you?
Yeah. Oh, I had, and it took me 2 years, I think it was, to even talk to them because I had seen some things that weren't the most flattering, I guess I could just say, of some of my friends, and the tone. I just didn't ever want my career to be looked upon as a dark side of anything, because certainly it was a devastating premature end to a career, but it didn't define my whole life. And I wanted to make sure if we told the story, and of course you're encapsulated in 40 some minutes of airtime, one of those shows, that it didn't take a twisted turn that I couldn't see, because I didn't see the finished product till everybody else did. So I had no idea what it was going to look like at the end of the day, other than the producers were very accommodating and gracious and did everything they could to make me feel good about it, and told me from the beginning they wanted it to be different than things they'd done in the past. They wanted to be able to tell a story that had a positive turn. And so all in all, that was what they gave me at the end of the day.
That was a lot of the feedback that I had heard. Was everybody was like, "Man, it was a great episode. It was very different from what they're usually up to on Dark Side of the Ring, where it's not, it's not like they're actively burying guys, but they are just focusing on some of the more difficult times in people's lives."
And and unfortunately, from a ratings perspective, most people want to know the car wreck, or they want to know the travesty, they want to know the drama and the things that took place behind the scenes. And we certainly were a great subject matter for that, because we lived as crazy a lifestyle as any human being could have, back during our heydays. And those of us that were lucky enough to survive it, we got a lot of stories and a lot of things we probably take to our grave.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to. So this is for our company, or rather, the network that we're with is called adfreeshows.com, and we just had a big event down in Huntsville, Alabama. And I just returned from that today at noon, and I was fortunate enough last night to spend some time with David Crockett. And I had mentioned to him that I was going to be speaking with you today, and man, he had some stories to tell, and I'm sure it was just the tip of the iceberg.
Well, he was right there in the thick of it with us. Him and his brother both, were very hands-on people, and were at live events with us, and part of the crazy aftermath parties that took place and whatnot. So, I mean, none of us would have survived in a modern era. We were like the last of a breed of outlaws that wasn't being under the microscope and having to be politically correct. And there was no cancel culture back then, or we'd have probably all been hung in public.
And thank goodness there's no cell phones back in those days. Some of the video that people could have been recording. Whew. My goodness.
I mean, when I laugh when I hear, oh, this happened to this one, or this got exposed here because of that, and blah 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 blah. I'm thinking, man, 7 days a week, you could. I mean, everybody on the whole roster could have been completely upside down in a nanosecond.